Yes, people, welcome back to 12th Man. We've got another Gooner to Gooner. It's me and my boy Curtis. Curtis, it's been a strange 48 hours or so, probably a bit longer than that, maybe 72 hours. And there's a lot to discuss. How you feeling right now, my bro? You all good?
Yeah, bro. I mean, the weather's nice. You know what I mean? Sun is shining. The weather is sweet, as Bob Marley once said. So I'm trying to sort of focus on other things because, like you said, the start of the week was like the most exciting week in a long time as an Arsenal fan, and we're sitting here now on Friday going, this season looks like if we don't turn it around in Paris, this could be a disaster of a season. I mean, I called my show Arsenal Therapy today because after them watch alongs last night, bro, I'm saying it's like an all you can eat restaurant. Everyone's like, yeah, I'll have that trophy, I'll have that trophy. And we've turned up late and there's nothing left. But listen, we do still have a chance. It isn't over, but it feels like we've got a mountain to climb and we don't often climb the mountains. I think that's the problem.
Totally agree, bro. Totally agree. Feel the same. Watched those games last night. I never watched Tottenham. I watched Man United game thinking, really? I mean, it's tie over
Oh,
for them. Looks like it could be tie over for Tottenham. That last goal probably gives them a little bit of a slimmer of hope in Bodo because it's a tough place to go and their pitch is mad. But I don't want to make it out that it's like Arsenal was so obsessed with Spurs and Man United because it isn't really
yeah.
about that. I think what it is for me, it's never nice to see any of those teams win. They're the two that we hate the most. But on top of that, Liverpool winning the league in Arne Slot's first year, Chelsea potentially winning that conference in their first year under Maresca, Eddie Howe finally, after 2 years of Champions League football, it looks like has now won his first trophy at Newcastle. And then
Yeah.
Manchester City under Pep, who, by the way, have been terrible, look like they could go and win the FA Cup now. So this could end up being one of the greatest seasons Arsenal have had when you then ignore what everyone else is doing if you win that Champions League. But if we do not, this could be one of the worst seasons in a long time, Curtis. And this is where you look at it. Do you look at it with the glass half full or the glass half empty? And it's very difficult at the moment to look at it glass half full with all the background noise going on and so much at stake. And I think the way we played
Yeah.
against PSG, we'll come on to that, has made me feel a little bit deflated again. I can't lie. The emotions of this football club is going to give me an early grave, brother. I can't lie.
I mean, bro, like Man City this season, right? They've lost 9 games in the Prem and drawn 7. So 16 games they've dropped points. That is like a crisis for Pep, like madness. They're 6 points behind us, bro.
Yeah.
We've still got to play Newcastle, who beat us every time we play them. We've got Liverpool at Anfield, who are having the time of their life. Our motivation will probably be gone for that game anyway, and we've got to give them a guard of honor. Bournemouth's a tricky game. You know, we lost to them away, right? When Saliba got sent off. And well, we've got Southampton, which is obviously a nice one. Everybody batters Southampton, but it's just the season. The season has kind of. I think the whole club have got to look at themselves for this season. If we don't win that Champions League, listen, if we win the Champions League, I don't care what anybody else wins. We'll be on top of the world. I don't care what anyone wins. We've won the biggest. But at the moment, let's be honest, we to go and beat PSG are you look at that PSG project and you think they went the Galacticos route and tried to just buy the biggest names. They got Messi, Neymar, Suarez. Cool. Got to a Champions League final, but it didn't work. They've broke that whole thing down, got hardly any money for those three as well. They've rebuilt and look at that team. I looked at their team the other night and I thought, listen, I know we've got players missing and things like that, Gabriel and Partey, but I looked at their team and I thought, Kvaratskhelia, a player that me and you have said for months and months and months we should have bought. They didn't have a striker because Mawani wasn't good enough. Ramos isn't good enough. They moved Dembele up top. He's a revelation. They're talking about Ballon d'Or if they win the Champions League. They've signed Doué, young player. They got Vitinha while we went and bought Fabio Vieira. They got Fabian Ruiz, who didn't cost that much money either. João Neves, a top young player. And you look at their team and you think there's no PR. There's no, Arteta putting out that video before the game, bring your boots and your shin pads. So how about you make some substitutions, mate? Do you know what I mean? Don't tell us to bring our football boots. You bring your tactics board with you because you look like you forgot how to change that game. He spent most of the game telling the fans to make more noise and flinging his arms up. Why is it Arsenal have to do PR videos, merch drops, dogs walking around the training ground, documentaries, everything but actually winning the game and just handling business? Luis Enrique wasn't flinging his arms up saying make noise, putting out inspirational videos, tifos that look like bed sheets from Sports Direct. You know what I mean? They just turned up and said, we're going to handle business on the pitch. We don't need all that PR. And they're under as much pressure as us, by the way. They've never won the Champions League. They've spent a lot of money and it hasn't happened. So I think with Arsenal, it's just I said it before, just when Arsenal give you that hope that they're going to achieve something great and you start to believe in it, they let you down. And I'll be honest, Dan, I don't know how you felt in the community, but I felt let down at the end of that game against PSG because when we lose, it's like we don't lose swinging. You know, I think if you have a fight with somebody and they knock you out, just say, listen, man, I lost the fight, but I landed one. You know what I mean? Yeah, I landed one. I feel like we kind of just go out with a whimper, and it felt too easy for them to come to our ground and dictate the game, and the fans were louder than us. It felt like as a club, we weren't ready for that game collectively. At the top of the club, they're saying we're going to get the tifo, we're going to do all this. You mess that up. I'm not saying the tifo affects the performance, but that's just what they had the opportunity of doing. The manager puts out a cringe-worthy video that doesn't inspire anybody. And I think the fans, Dan, because I think match-going fans have a responsibility to lift the players. If we're in our house, in our front room watching the game, we can say whatever. You know, the players aren't going to be affected by that. I think when you're a player and you got, 58,000 Arsenal fans and 2,000 PSG fans, those fans do have a responsibility to go, listen, I'm disappointed. You've knocked the stuffing out of us with that goal. We're going to try our best to lift you up. I know people that paid £400-500 for a ticket the other day. What's the point paying £400 and then sitting there in silence for 95 minutes? You know what I mean? You're there to lift that group and try and help them. And after the game, if they haven't performed, criticize them, say whatever you want. I just looked at the whole thing and thought, we don't feel like we're ready to get past this stage. It feels like we're going to pat each other on the back, say, well done, Champions League semi-final, you finished second, but where's that drive and determination from the whole club? It's like too many other things are happening. So I know I'm going on a bit here, but it felt to me like PSG, there was no videos. They turned up, their fans sung their heart out, the players handled their business, and they flew back home while we were kind of doing everything else but actually performing on the pitch. And then the team selection and the tactics are just an absolute disgrace, in my opinion. And I'll be honest, people, and I've said it already on Twitter, we go out on Wednesday. That is me 100% completely done with this manager. And I've never been this guy's biggest fan anyway, but seeing that Champions League run, I said, yo, you got to fall back. You can't be talking madness about the manager when he could achieve something special, and he still could. So I'm still not going crazy, but the same problems that we always talk about with Arteta, they always come back to the surface. When we are in the biggest of moments, when has this guy tactically dragged a game back in Arsenal's favour and won it? If plan A works, Arteta looks like a genius. It worked against Real Madrid. This is my setup. They can't deal with us. We win the game 5-1 on aggregate. Cool. Deserves his flowers. That's unbelievable. Against Man City, you battered them 5-1 as well. Amazing. Deserves your flowers. Against Villarreal in the semi-final when we're struggling, did you turn that game around? No, you couldn't do it. Aston Villa last season at home. Could you change that game? Did you do anything to swing it in our favour? You couldn't do it. And the other night, I just saw a guy sit there, tell the fans to make more noise, made no changes, and nothing happened. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say, Mikel Merino's been a revelation up front. How about I play him up front in the biggest game of the season? And even if you don't start him there, why don't you change it? He has a goal disallowed from a set piece. That should have been the warning sign. Stuart, Parisian Londoner, he come on AFTV the other day, said, the weakness of PSG is set pieces and crosses. Their centre backs are not that good in the air. And he said, you've just put Trossard up against them for 90 minutes. You've made life easy for them. You didn't even exploit their weakness. And now it's a rescue mission. And now we're acting like, oh, no, yeah, but Thomas Partey's back. Thomas Partey's a very good player, Dan. But he ain't Zinedine Zidane. He ain't Ronaldinho. Like, I'm not expecting Partey to dribble past 4 and put it in the top corner. So it's just disappointing because I don't think it needed to be how it went on Tuesday. I think we should have at least got out of there with a draw. And we got a difficult Wednesday night. Very difficult.
Look, man, the reason I like that monologue is because I'm about to go on one and I'm going to bring up a few points that you haven't, right?
Yeah.
Because I personally believe that everything you've said has been spot on since the minute you started talking on this show. There's other things I want to bring up about the game the other night that frustrated me. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shout out some of the excuses I've heard, right? And I'm going to nullify why that people are talking absolute nonsense, in my opinion, right? Let's talk about the atmosphere, the crowd, and the tifo. As much as it wasn't really what I wanted to see, that is not the reason we did not beat PSG.
Yeah.
The reason we did not beat PSG is not because someone hung a shower curtain up in the ground, right? That is not one of the reasons why we did not beat PSG. As much as it's embarrassing, and whoever put that together needs to be sacked and not come back to the stadium for a long time, that is not the reason that we did not beat PSG, right? So that was disappointing to see that it was like gone from plastic bags, which people questioned anyway, but at least look pretty good, to a flag that someone's hung up that looks like, I mean, let's just not even go there, right?
Yeah.
The cringy video is not the reason that we lost PSG against PSG, even though it's cringe and we shouldn't need to do that to get people up for a game. But that's up to Mikel what he wants to do. The fans in the atmosphere, in my opinion, it was quite good where I was sitting. I've said this on quite a few streams. Where I sit, I'm very lucky. I'm in the Red Action North Bank, so we never sit down. We're always up screaming and shouting. The rest of the stadium, from what I'm hearing on watch-alongs and working from home, you could only hear PSG fans. That's what I'm being told. Now, I couldn't because I'm surrounded by hundreds of people that are screaming about Arsenal. So it's very hard for me to say that that was a horrendous atmosphere. It wasn't where I was sitting, but perhaps the rest of the stadium it was. Okay? But in my opinion, that's not the reason that we lost to PSG still. The other reason that I don't think we've lost to PSG is that the manager couldn't do anything. He's got no other options. This is the one that I do not understand where fans are. I do not understand how no one could see what he could have changed. Now, I said this to judges and I'll say it again. I've got no problem with him starting with that lineup. I thought it was going to be that team. It didn't shock me when it came out. I didn't go, oh my God, Marino's back in midfield and Trossard. I knew it was going to be that, right? Wouldn't have gone with that personally, but I'm not the manager. So he goes with that. I would have had no problem, right? If he would have said after 25 minutes even or 60 minutes, we're getting dominated in midfield here. I've got to change this up. I'm going to bring Lewis-Skelly in. I'm going to bring on Zinchenko. Tini can come on at left back. Let's put Marino back up top. And do you know what? If he still would have lost 1-0, I'd have gone, I think we were just beaten on the day. Mikel tried to change everything. Fair play. We've got to go and beat him in Paris. And I genuinely would have thought that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this guy has done nothing of the sort. He is sat there, stubborn as he always is, believing it was going to get better, believing don't change anything, we'll get there eventually. I can't believe that I'm going to have to say that I'm wrong. I can't drop this guy. I can't bring him off. I don't want Marino to go back up top because Trossard's been scoring. We can't believe be bringing on Ethan. He's not good enough off the ball. He's too young for the occasion. All this stuff was now ticking off, going, yeah, you don't trust him. You don't trust them. You don't trust them. So when people use the excuse that Mikel couldn't have done nothing, I can give you loads of examples of stuff that we can do. Now, let me not even give you the examples of stuff he could have done. Let me take it one step further. Let me look at that bench and let me ask the question, who's responsible for that bench? Arsenal Football Club are responsible for that bench. Forget injuries, because there's only Gabriel that's out right now and Partey who's suspended that get anywhere near the first 11. Because Havertz and Jesus and Tomiyasu are the only other 3 that are injured, and nobody seems to want them in the first 11 from who I speak to generically as fans, right? So the common consensus is that we're missing Thomas Partey through suspension and Gabriel, who everyone tells me Kivio has been unbelievable. So really, it's not a weak Arsenal side is my point. But then you look to the bench and you think, right, as much as I don't particularly like some of these players and I haven't heard of 3 or 4 of them warming up, the problem there is down to the club. transfer
Yeah.
window, summer, January, which he's got a massive part to play with because we're told that Mikel Arteta signs off transfers and has the last say. That might change now Berta's come in, but for what we've been told in the last two, Arteta was massively involved, right? So he's
Yeah.
definitely taking an L there. And then you look at it and you think, hang on a minute, I'm seeing comparisons to last two seasons here. And I'll tell you what the comparisons are. We're playing our number 8 as a number 9 again this season. We did it last year with Havertz. We're doing it
Yeah.
again with now Mikel Merino because this guy refuses for whatever reason to buy a striker. So we're now playing our attacking number 8s there. And for the only time that I've seen, he has played in the 8, which is apparently his position, this Merino.
Mm.
Similarly to when we went out to Bayern Munich and Aston Villa last season, when he dropped Kai Havertz back into midfield, he's now done it again with Merino. Same as last year mistakes.
Yeah.
Then what he's done last year is he's gone, I don't really trust some of this bench. I don't really believe in Fabio Vieira. I don't really believe in Reece Nelson. And there's some other players at the back last season we had that have now gone since then as well. Now he's looking at the bench. He doesn't trust Kieran Tierney. He doesn't trust Zinchenko. He doesn't trust Raheem Sterling. So what the fucking hell are they still doing here then? If you're
Yeah.
not going to bring them on in a semi-final, why are they on the bench? You might as well just bring 3 more youth kids up because there's no point. You might as well save the money. So last season he didn't trust Nelson. This season he doesn't trust Sterling. Both of them were his decision. He put one of them on 100k a week. The other one he brought in on loan and said within 10 minutes I knew that he was right for me. But all of a sudden he doesn't bring him on. Fabi Vieira last season sat there, £38 million signing. 21-year-old who's got the most assists in Portugal, and he's the one that he wanted over Vitinha, by the way, the one who's balling it out of the carpet on our pitch.
Yeah.
There's so many errors, Curtis, that I see that are consistent with this guy in the last 2-3 seasons that are now happening again. And he sat there and did nothing other than wait for Timber to get injured to bring on White and wait for Ethan to get ready on 89th minute. Now, I wouldn't do this if I'm a professional footballer, but I would have no qualms with him turning around, rolling his eyes and going, you're seriously going to bring me on in 89 minutes now? While our captain has been stinking it out, which we'll come on to, by the way. Ethan Waneri comes on at 89 minutes. What? To try and get us back in the game with 6 minutes to go. So when I look at the amount of errors that I'm seeing consistently from Mikel and the excuses that some of our fans are making, rather than blaming us over him. Oh, it's the fans. Oh, it's the tifo. Oh, it's the fact the atmosphere was crap. Oh, it's the fact that he's got injuries. He can't do anything. Oh, there was no options for him. Hang on a minute. No. Look at what the problem was. We're not out, by the way, and we might go through, and I hope we bloody do. But come on, man. Just say it how it is. I don't know why our fans are so against this, Curtis. It's like you can't say it. He's the last person to blame. Everybody else's fault, even us. We're to blame more. The dog's to blame more. The merchandise are to blame more. The vases we made the other month are to blame more. But this guy, protect him at all costs. And I don't understand where that's come from, bruv. I'm sorry,
Bro,
I don't.
no, you're spot on as well, by the way, bro. Look, listen, like when Wenger was kind of being pushed out by the fans, obviously there was a lot of pushback. But I kind of understood that because Wenger is a legend. It's very difficult to turn on a
Credit in the
legend.
bank.
He had a lot of credit in the bank from the Invincibles and everything that we saw in that first 10 years. I ask people all the time, like, what is the obsession with Mikel Arteta as being our manager? I have no problem with any fan who really likes him and they say things like, look where he's taken us from and things like, okay, yeah, he took us from 8th place and got us to 2nd. It's an improvement, it's progression, but 5.5 years, 750 million, big club. You probably should progress in that sort of time frame. But then he wasn't a legend of a player at Arsenal. He was a pretty average player at Arsenal, if we're being totally honest. And then as a manager, he's been decent. Like there's been a lot of progression there. But why? I always say the club should be ahead of any player and any manager. And let's just say, for example, when Aubameyang was here, we all loved him. And when he stopped performing, people turned on him. When his attitude was wrong, he's turning up late, people turned on him. When he left, people were kind of like, okay, the attitude, he's got to go. But with Arteta, it's like, it's excuse after excuse after excuse. Like, and I don't understand why he's got so much credit in the bank. He would not survive at any of the other big clubs on this run, what he's doing at the moment, because we've seen the evidence at those clubs. Mourinho finished 2nd, won the Europa League, got sacked at United a year later. Ollie is a club legend at Man United. Finished 2nd, got sacked. Chelsea sacked managers left, right, and centre. Tottenham have got rid of Mourinho when he was in Carabao Cup final. You know, Liverpool not so much, but they've had Klopp. But even Brendan Rodgers, you know, he didn't get years and years to keep, give him another season because we got close. It was like, no, you didn't win it. You're on your bike. So I always think in football, what a lot of clubs get wrong is they wait to move a manager on until you hit a crisis. They go, oh, we're in crisis now, sack him. And then the next manager's got to come in and completely rebuild everything. I'm looking at Arsenal right now going, right, we're a good team. There's no doubt. Everybody can see Arsenal are a good team. We're competing for the league, competing for the Champions League, but we can't get over that finish line. And that has to be down to Arteta, the tactics, the decisions. You know, like I said, on the tour last summer, speaking to Arsenal staff members, high people in that club, I'm saying, bro, you've got to buy a striker this summer. And they were saying, look at what Havertz did in the second half of the season. They rolled the dice on Kai Havertz in that purple patch that he was going to play up front and score loads of goals for us this season. So they didn't want a striker in the summer. He spent 40 million on a backup centre-back / left-back in Calafiori. 40 million would have got you Ivan Toney in the summer or whoever else you wanted to go for. So it was his decision to say, I do not want a striker. And then in January, you know, they didn't buy Watkins. They didn't take an Asensio on loan, a Rashford on loan, whatever. So you made a great point there. You look at your bench, you need to change the game. Zinchenko, he signed him, right? So, and Raheem Sterling, he signed him. And Nwaneri, he promoted him. And he was on the verge of getting in the England squad 6 weeks ago. And you don't trust him all of a sudden. So I think every fan could have taken that defeat if you went, you know what? They gave everything. He made changes. He put Zinni in midfield, or he moved Lewis-Skelly into midfield. Tierney came on. Marino went up front. We put crosses in. We hit the post 4 times. We gave everything. Sometimes you're just not as good as the opposition. And I'll be honest, PSG the other day, I think that's the best team that I've seen against Arsenal this season. And like, I've not seen anybody do that to us, what they did, especially in that first 20, 30 minutes. But they should have come off that pitch having a war against us on the pitch where, you know what I mean, you're going to feel that this is a really good team. I felt they came off that pitch quite comfortable in the end. You know, they were taking people off. Barcola comes on, he misses a chance. Ramos misses a chance. They're winning 1-0, and Luis Enrique's being proactive, going, right, 1-0 up, but we need to make sure this, and this. You're coming off, you're coming off, you're coming off. We're 1-0 down. We're desperate for something else, and our manager's just sitting there doing nothing. So for me, that's where the frustration comes from. And I'll be honest, anyone who follows me on Twitter, usually after a big loss, I'll be saying madness on Twitter. And I didn't really go that mad because I thought, you know what? There's a second leg. We've still got a chance. I'm going to hold back and see what happens in that second leg because I don't think we are completely out of it, because I kind of look at it and think we didn't play that well. And I think they played really well. And we lost 1-0 and we had chances and they had a few more chances. We need to go up a level and hope that they drop off a little bit. I mean, I'm seeing that Dembele, they're saying 50-50 whether he'll play on Wednesday, although Luis Enrique seemed to think that he will play. So it's just, it feels like you go round and round in circles with Arsenal, Dan. It really does. Like, you get in a title race, you think you're going to win it, and then they drop off. Then the following season, same again, they drop off. And the thing that's so frustrating with Arsenal is the problems that we've got. It feels like they're not difficult to fix, but they make it difficult to fix. Like, why have we still not got a 20-goal striker? Why have we not got a left winger? Like, I'm looking at what Kvara's doing to Timber in that first 20, 30 minutes, which I haven't seen anybody do that to Timber. And I'm thinking, look what we've got on the left-hand side in Martinelli and Trossard at the moment. Like Martinelli the other night, and I like Martinelli, but I'm genuinely running out of patience with that guy. Hakimi's on a yellow card in the first half. You gave him no problem the rest of the game. Didn't do anything. Trossard up front is a waste of time. You might get away with it against Ipswich. You ain't getting away with it against PSG. And you think, why is this manager so obsessed with keeping some of these players for so long and not upgrading? And Where's that? You're ruthless with Aubameyang. You're ruthless with Mesut Ozil. You get rid of people. You show that ruthless side. But then with other players, it's like, oh, I'll give El Neni another year because he's got a good attitude, or I'll give Jorginho another year because this, and Martinelli. Some of these guys should have been binned a long time ago. Should have been benched. Yeah, look how ruthless he was. Ramsdale gets team of the season. The next year, yeah, you're gone, mate. You're gone. But you sit what realistically, right? What has happened to Gabriel Martinelli? Because 2 years ago, this guy got 15 goals. He's ripping apart Trent. He's ripping apart Cancelo. He's in the Brazilian squad. Klopp saying he's a generational talent. And 2 years later, the guy looks like he can't play football sometimes. Looks like a headless chicken. Now, is Martinelli just a Brazilian fourth division player? That is where we signed him from, and he's actually not that intelligent and just a great athlete? Or has this manager just done nothing to actually improve that guy? Because when Arteta came, what did they all say to us? Oh, he's done miracles with Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling. It's probably not that difficult because they were two top quality players at Man City. So they didn't really need a lot of coaching. So how come? I mean, Trossard has got worse, I would say, than when he first came. We loved Trossard when he first came to Arsenal. Now, I mean, I call him Kung Fu Panda. He looks knackered. He plays like he's drunk half the time. You got Martinelli, who, like, I keep saying, check his passport. Is he Brazilian? Because I don't see Brazilian football from him. You got Jesus, who's basically a cripple. Like, I'll be honest, you'd be lucky to get anything for him. You got Havertz, who his hamstring's been torn apart. And listen, Havertz was never good enough anyway. Aubameyang was a golden boot winner the day he walked through the door. By the time he left, he was washed up. His hairline was going. We couldn't wait. You know what I mean? They were high-fiving, getting rid of him for nothing. Lacazette was washed up by the time he left. He was basically playing in midfield. Willian had his best season at Chelsea in terms of numbers the year before he came to Arsenal. He ended up with his belly hanging out at Arsenal in that yellow shirt. He was a complete mess at Arsenal by the time he left. Pepe, 72 million. We sold him for 3 million. So apart from Saka, who has actually progressed in our attack under this manager? And now look at Martin Odegaard. 2 years ago, people were in the comments going, listen, mate, I tell you what, apart from Kevin De Bruyne, there's no better attacking midfielder in this country. I was like, people were going, yo, I'm comparing him to Mesut Ozil. They're going, yo, people were like, yo, Ozil, and it's not, now I'm like, I've never seen him look this bad in his whole entire Arsenal career. And even when he was on loan at Sociedad. There has to be a reason why attacking players come here and get progressively worse. That can't be ignored. It's not a one-off. Eddie Nketiah never improved. We didn't expect him to. So that attacking thing is a major problem. PSG have completely changed their front three, and three of the biggest players in world football, Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, and look at them. They look better than ever. Yet we're 5 years in still going, well, in the summer, we need a striker. We need a left winger. We need an attacking midfielder. We might need another centre mid if Partey and Jorginho go. So you're talking about 4 key players in the starting 11 to take us to that next level. That's basically a rebuild. And then you need a backup goalkeeper when Neto goes. You might need another centre back as cover. So we might need 7 players in the summer. Do you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's frustrating, Dan.
Listen, it's frustrating to say the least. It really is, and you're spitting facts, bruv. Absolute facts. Listen, people, we got nearly 1.2k in here. Do me a favor, hit the like button and hit subscribe. Make sure you're following Curtis as well. His link is in the title. Let's get him up to 100k, and let's get us up to 40k. We're not too far off of 38k, so let's get us there. I think we're about 100 away, so let's get to 38 and then the big 4-0. So big up to you guys. A couple of super chats here. It says, yes, Arteta mistakes, but has to coach 10 out of 10 every time. He doesn't have the individual quality to change games. They're going to be 50-50s. We need quality. Well, he's had 5 years and 750 million. So if you don't rate some of the players, they're his players. 31 of them he's now signed. There's only Kieran Tierney and Martinelli, along with Saliba and Saka, that aren't his players. 2 of those are, let's be real, players that we would 100% keep. The other two are questionable. Topside Highbury says, this is the Arteta record in April and May. He's won 31, drew 9 and lost 13. Scored 115 goals. Does he mean that since he's been an Arsenal manager, that's his record in April and May in the last 5 years? Is that what he means?
Yeah, maybe. I'd assume so. Is that what scored 115, conceded 57, maybe? I
That's
don't
what he
know.
means.
What I
Okay,
reckon.
that's what he means. Yeah,
Mm.
and this is a question mark I've got, which I'll come back to in a minute about pressure. Bleck says, big ups, Big C and Dan Potts. Big up to you, man. Therapy, as always. We need it at the moment, Gooners. We need it. There's a lot happening outside of just Arsenal as well, with Europa Leagues and other trophies that potentially could be won, which is definitely going to be putting in more pressure on us. Let's talk about our midfield, bruv, because I'm going to come to them individually, but before I do that, I'm going to look at the midfield trio that PSG have, and I was wowed by it, mate.
Oh,
I can't lie. All three of them, underrated, not spoken about enough. And if I'm honest, I think one of them might right now be one of the best in the position alongside Pedri. I rate Vitinha that highly. I think he was
yeah.
so levels above everybody on the pitch. By far the best midfielder, PSG's best player. He reminds me a little bit of Luka Modric. You know how he just dictates a game and just completely controls it and brings balance and domination to the midfield. He was unbelievable. He cost £40 million, £2 million more than Fabi Vieira did. Then you
Yeah.
look at João Neves, who I thought was very good the other night and has been for quite some time. Brilliant at Benfica, highly rated. I think he's only
Mm.
20 and he's in
Yeah.
PSG's midfield the other side now. He was 55 million. And then you look at Fabian Ruiz, who was at Napoli, who I thought was a very good player there, incredibly underrated, one of the best players at the Euros for Spain. He was 22 million pounds. So they spent the best part of just over 100 million pounds, see, on their midfield, right? We spent 105 on Rice. We spent 45 on Partey, 35 on Odegaard. That doesn't include what we've spent since then on Havertz, Vieira, and of course Marino, who have all come in, and Lokonga, who have all come in to try and be that left eight. And I think we've pretty much had issues with every single position of a trio. So what I mean by that is that's not me slating Partey, Rice, or Odegaard, because individually I think they're decent, right? But when I look at it now, Rice was a 6. Now everyone thinks he's an 8. Partey definitely is a 6, but he's after time at right back. Martin Odegaard, I don't think has ever been a 10, but he's definitely, for me, more of an 8. He's more of a Bernardo Silva than a KDB, in my opinion. And adding on to that, since Granit Xhaka's gone, who I didn't think was world class, by the way, he was good for us, but
Mm.
not world class. For 6 years, I wanted to get rid of him and upgrade on him. Since then, we've spent money on Lokonga, Fabio Vieira, Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, Mikel Merino, and also used some squad players to bring into that position as well. So we've spent the best part of £275 million trying to replace Xhaka, who we got £15 million for. There is a massive issue there, bruv. And Martin Odegaard, oh my God. I have seen some bad performances in Arsenal shirts. We've laughed at some of them. We've questioned how good they were. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever seen a performance from an Arsenal captain or any football captain that was so invisible, so noticeably poor, and
Yeah.
so pathetic. I'm going to say it in my life as that man. That was a absolute shambles of a performance from him. And it's worrying form now. It's droppable form. Don't
Yeah.
worry about stripping the captaincy of him yet. Let's talk about that by the end of the season. I think it's personally a good shout. It's not going to happen. Let's just talk about his performances. That's more worrying than me than whether he can shout at people on a pitch and be a leader. Because as
Yeah.
much as, people want to talk about dropping him, the best thing you can do now is just drop him and give the captain's armband to Rice anyway. And just say, let's just forget about him because he ain't playing well enough. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if his head's gone. I don't know if he just wasn't that good anyway. I don't know if it's because he ain't got a striker. All these excuses I keep hearing about him doing bloody night feeds. What are we doing here? This guy is just not playing well, bruv. So talk to me about that midfield trio, man, because there's a lot there I've thrown at you, mate.
I think with our midfield, if it's not at full strength, we've got a problem. And Paul Merson said something, I agreed with him. I think Arteta changed too many pieces and moved things around too much. I think he should have just put somebody in Thomas Partey's role, and because I think you needed Rice to go and press Vitinha and those guys when they're on the ball and make life difficult for them. But because Rice was in the 6 role, They had too much space because Marino and Odegaard are not going to press. In terms of the midfield, yeah, Odegaard is. I've spoke about the guy so much this week; it's unbelievable. But the worst thing about it, Dan, he will start next week. That's the reality of the situation. That's why sometimes it's just like we can talk about it from now till next Wednesday. He's gonna play. I mean, I think that's one of the worst performances I have ever seen from an Arsenal player in a big game. From a so-called, the reason I get so annoyed with Odegaard is because you're meant to be a top player. I've seen bad players put in bad performances, but this guy is meant to be one of our top players. He's on over 200 grand. He's the captain. He's the Norway captain, ex-Real Madrid. What did he do in that game the other night? No shots on target. Like, he completed one pass in the first 30 minutes. It's genuinely one of the worst performances I've ever seen in the history of Arsenal in such a big game, honestly. I talk about Almunia on this channel being one of the biggest scrubs I've ever seen, getting, Ronaldo's free kick from like 40 yards at the Emirates, beating him at the near post. This guy, Odegaard, is a shambles at the moment. And we create all the excuses we want. Oh, he might need an operation on his ankle. He needs a better striker to make runs. Listen, he needs to get benched first of all. That's what he needs to do. Because I think when you're trying to set standards for a football club, the worst thing that you can do is allow a player to play at a poor level and continue to get picked because you're just giving him an excuse. Even if you play badly, you're going to start because you're the captain and it's controversial to drop the captain. Odegaard should not be starting next week against PSG. I don't care. Listen, start Waneri. He cannot play worse than that, and he will not play as bad as that because at least he's going to run his socks off. You ain't just going to push the guy off the ball as easily as this guy. This guy don't do anything. So it's almost a waste of time playing him at this point. You're just playing with 10 men. The midfield balance is interesting because I'll be honest, I always said Rice was a 6. I felt he was a better protector than he was going forward. But then you watch the last few performances in that box. I call it more a box-to-box role. I don't think he's a number 8. I still look at a number 8 as you create, you can play that pass, you score a lot of goals. I just look at Rice maybe as a box-to-box midfielder.
An engine, yeah.
An engine. You could just do everything. You defend, you attack, you drive. But our midfield without Rice in that role the other day was just, it was way too easy to play against. PSG at times were just walking around bopping it because Marino ain't going to press. And Odegaard.
And that signing, just quickly, by the way, Marino, that makes no sense to me now. That number 8 that we signed here, he's supposed to be that guy. That midfield, that Rice, Marino, Odegaard, was what I think he actually believed we were going to go into for most of the season because he believed that Partey would be unavailable. And I just question that now because he looks better at a 9, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. And like you said, bro, like Havertz and Marino were both Granit Xhaka replacements. And they both ended up doing better up front, but they're still not good enough to be the full-time striker. So the Marino one, I don't really know what Arteta was hoping for with that one. I think he gets in the box, he's good in the air, it's technically quite gifted. Maybe he thought he was going to do what Xhaka did in that final season before he left, but he just doesn't have that mobility and that aggression. And like you said, it's funny because I wanted Xhaka out of this club for years. And it turns out his final season, we haven't actually found a player to perform at that same level because him and Martinelli on that left was a revelation that season. And then Zinchenko inverting as well. So listen, I mean, there's a lot of frustration and people tune in today and go, oh, this, that, the other, they're having a moan. But I think we do have a reason to feel frustrated, because not only are we seeing our team fall away from the trophies again, but like you were saying, man, I mean, I did watch-alongs last night and you're like, well, that's an all-English Europa League final. Them two have been absolutely embarrassing. One of them is going to win the Europa League and play in the Super Cup final and get Champions League qualification next season. Chelsea will probably win the Conference League, which, listen, we don't rate the Conference League, but a lot of Chelsea fans saying, completed Europe if they win the Conference League, Europa League, Champions League, Conference League. So that's their sort of angle. And then you've got Newcastle, like you said, 60, 70 years, no trophy. They've won a trophy. You've got City in their worst season in years are going to get Champions League and are going to probably win the FA Cup. And in fact, if Palace win the FA Cup, that might be even more embarrassing because that's Eddie and Ketty winning an FA Cup.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? With 1 or 2 league goals in a full season. And then you've got Liverpool just coasting to the title. And by the way, next week we've got to give him a guard of honor at Anfield. So it's just it's crazy. And the thing is, you don't fully believe that they're going to fix the problem. I mean, I was looking yesterday, and I'm going to speak about this on my show later, but there's been rumors that Man United want Gyökeres. And all the rumors are that Gyökeres won't go to a team not in Europe or not in the Champions League. Well, all of a sudden, if Man United win the Europa League, you're in the Champions League, it's his old manager, they pay massive wages. He might look at it and go, I'll go and play for the manager that I've had success under, rather than going to Arsenal, who've had a lot of problems with a striker. That might not happen, but I'm saying that could happen if they win that if they win that Europa League. And let's be honest, if Tottenham win the Europa League, I mean, honestly, bro, I will be going into hiding this summer because you will never hear the end of it. And I don't even know that many Tottenham fans, to be honest. But they're going to say you was in that competition for years, you never won it. I will say, on one hand, we're a little bit unlucky because not all of them, but a couple of them, because when we was in the Europa League, we played prime Atletico Madrid. We played a Chelsea team where Hazard was just unplayable, even though the defeat was embarrassing. Maybe Villarreal, Olympiacos, they were embarrassing, to be honest. But this is the weakest Europa League I've seen in years with them Champions League dropouts not going in there. I mean, to get Bodo Glimt in a Europa League semi-final. And by the way, can I just say one thing? That Nico Williams discussion, lock that off. That guy, right? That's the 4th time I've watched him this season. I watched him 3 times in La Liga. But I was interested last night because I thought, let's see how he does against an English club. Don't bring that guy anywhere near this football club. Nowhere near. We've said really before, haven't we, though, Dan? I'm not sure about him, but I'll be honest now. I don't want nothing to do with that guy. I don't even know if he's better than Martinelli, I'll be honest.
No.
Like, that could just be... We've seen it in Euros and World Cups. You know, international football, it's a bit slower. They don't low block. He looked great, didn't he, with space to run into. The guy wants, 400 grand a week, 51 million. He's not even that good. He couldn't even play a 10-yard pass yesterday. Said, nah, don't bring that guy anywhere near this football.
I thought his brother looked better. I can't even lie.
He did. Oh, he did. He did. Inaki
yeah.
Williams way better. He's technically better. His decision-making's better. That guy's a scrub. He ain't got 10 goals. Ah, man, don't bring it. I haven't waited all the... Look, this is why I got this guy on the green screen. I know it's controversial. He played the piano at United, but this is the last left winger we had that was genuinely world-class levels. Nico Williams, you want me to wait all them years? You're going to bring Nico? I can't watch this guy play for Arsenal, man. Nah, we don't want nothing to do with that guy, man. He's a scrub.
Look, I'm with you. I've watched him 3 times and he's had bad games. The only times he's been good has been for his country. Now, I don't know if that's because he's surrounded by more quality or what it is, but individually yesterday, there was just not enough technical ability that made me go, wow. I looked and seen quite a few individuals that I've gone wow to, and he ain't one of them. Now, when I saw him for Spain, I will say that Yamal was the one that made me go wow. And again, the other night, that guy's just phenomenal. I think he might actually be the best player in the world, and he's 17. That's how scary he is. But I look at Nico Williams, and I don't get those vibes, if I'm honest. Ab says Bruno is now miles ahead of Odegaard. There's no more debate. 37 goals and assists. SG says Odegaard is the most overrated player. There is no future for him. The more people realise this, the better. Get him pocketed by a finished Fabinho who got cooked by every player. I'm supposed to rate that bum. A lot of people talking about Martin Odegaard. Tomo says, lads, as bad as United are, they could have 3 trophies in 3 years. That is crazy. That is crazy. And you know what? This is why I keep saying to people who say to me, yeah, but it's quite hard to win. Well, Newcastle are good enough to win a trophy. Liverpool are. Chelsea are. Man United are. Why aren't we good enough to win a trophy? Might not be good enough to win the Prem. We might not be good enough to win the Champions League. Win me a damn League Cup or a domestic cup then. Yeah, because the FA Cup's supposed to be ours. Wenger won 7 of them. We've won 14 in our history. If you ain't good enough to win the Premier League and you're not got the squad to be consistent at City or Liverpool, then go and win a bloody trophy just like Man United have. Because they would have 3 years now going, well, we've been absolute dire and we've won a League Cup, FA Cup, and potentially a Europa League. What's so hard
Yeah.
about winning trophies, Arsenal? Because look at your squad compared to theirs. They haven't even got. They've spent 100 million on shocking strikers, as well. So that's where I'm at. But do you know what worried me as well the other night, Curtis? We saw life without Thomas Partey, and I didn't like it. I did not like it at all. And I'm not saying that he comes in like you've mentioned, he's not Xavi or Zidane, but he comes in and he does make us better. And I'm not even sure that they score that first goal with him in midfield. That's how much I do rate him individually for Arsenal. I think now what that showed me was this club, it would be criminal for us to let him go for nothing now. We have to keep hold of him for another year plus another option of a year. And I know him coming back gives us a little bit more confidence, but we cannot let this guy go now, can we?
No, not a chance. I think he's always listen. The problem's always been his fitness. Like he's been a sick note for the last couple of years, but his injuries have been much better this season, and he's just so comfortable on the ball. And I agree with you. Like Rice obviously gambled to double up with Timber on Kvaratskhelia, and he left Dembele. Like you said, if Partey's there, he probably covers that on the edge of the box. And that goal might not happen. But yeah, life without him didn't look good because our midfield was dreadful. We couldn't get forward. The only time we really got forward is if Skelly stepped into midfield, or that time when Rice did manage to get forward. So that contract, I mean, his agent probably sat there after that game and went, yeah, you might have to pay something that you don't want to pay now because you might need him a lot more. I think we've underrated Thomas Partey for a long time, to be honest. I think that number 6 role has become so pivotal nowadays. You know, that's why Rodri's winning Ballon d'Ors, and because that role is so important. That player that the defense can play through and start the attacks, he's so good at that. And that's what Rice probably doesn't have in the 6. He's not as comfortable at taking the ball on the half turn. And it's I think he's one of the best sixers probably in Europe, to be honest. After Rodri, there ain't many better than Partey. Really, he's up there. There's one or two, but they've got to give him a new contract. They've got to get that contract sorted. Yeah, I just see that thing, Dembele. I mean, Fabrizio said he's got a strain in his thigh, but he said it's progressively evolving or whatever. So I reckon they're playing mind games. I reckon he'll play. Yeah, I reckon. I hope he doesn't play. But my thing now is, and I keep saying this, listen, we've spent what 40, 50 minutes having a moan up. It's a reality. We're all frustrated. Everyone looks like they're going to win trophies. My show today is Arsenal therapy. I'll probably go and moan some more. But we do need to. Like Arteta, mate, you've got to get it right on Wednesday. You've got to. I think the team picks itself pretty much on Wednesday.
Go on, then.
Obviously, well, the goalkeeper on back 4 picks itself. I would play Partey, Rice, and Nwaneri in midfield, but he will play Partey, Rice, and Odegaard. And front 3 would be Saka, Marino, and I would still go Martinelli, even though I thought he was awful, just because you need to hope that his speed can catch Hakimi out. I'm not going to play Trossard on the left. It's not a difficult team to pick. I just think that's all you've got to do. You get Skelly stepping into midfield. You get Rice driving, get him closer to Vitinha and them. You've got to hope that PSG get sort of caught between thinking, what should we do? Because sometimes when you're 1-0 up going into a second game, it's like, do they sit back and try and defend, or do they still go for that second goal, But listen, I'll be honest, and I've said this openly, like, listen, I still think we've got a chance, but I think we are massively up against it because they're the best team that I've seen this season against Arsenal. I've not seen a team do what they did to us. They didn't look like they had a weakness in their team. Like Donnarumma, world-class saves. Like, them saves are crazy. Their back 4 looked pretty comfortable. Their midfield was on another level. Their front 3, I mean, Doué's doing Neymar tricks. Kvaratskhelia ball in. Dembele scored. I think we've got to put crosses into Marino, and we've got to hit them in transition. We've got to get the wingers forward quick. If you look at Aston Villa, their goals are on counter-attacks, in transition. But the problem again is if the starting 11 doesn't work, there doesn't seem to be a plan B. So that's the other worry. So I think Arsenal's best hope, Dan, is to beat them by a goal and go to extra time and try and beat them in extra time. I'd be very surprised if we went there and beat them by 2 clear goals, to be honest. I was looking in the Champions League. They've only lost once at home in the Champions League this season. It was Atletico. They lost 2-1 at home in the group stage. So they don't concede that many goals at home. So we need Partey to boss the game. Rice got to be a driving force, go and disrupt that midfield. And then you need the front line to produce something. Because listen, what we've got to do, we know we're going to go there. We know the atmosphere is going to be crazy. Look what 2,000 fans did. Imagine what 60,000 fans are going to do. They will be nervous as well. Like, they've never won the Champions League. They're desperate to prove, oh, Mbappe, you made a mistake. You've gone to Madrid and now, look, we've won it. Like, we've got to turn that energy against them. We got to make them nervous. Go there and score. Because I just look at it like, you've got nothing to lose. You've got to go for it. Don't go there and be defensive. Not saying be all out attack, but they did. They lost at home to Liverpool. Liverpool kept a clean sheet there. And Liverpool didn't play that great. I thought PSG missed a lot of chances in that game. And they are quite wasteful. I think because they don't have an out-and-out striker, they do miss quite a lot of chances. So we're going to have to put in the performance of the season. And I think to win a Champions League, you're gonna have to come up against some sort of difficulty. I think the mindset of a lot of us, we were hoping that we were going to do to PSG what we did to Real Madrid in the first game. We were hoping we were just going to batter them and we go to Paris with a 2 or 3 goal lead. We've lost the game 1-0. To win a Champions League, you're going to have a time where you lose it. It's only 1-0. Like, imagine it was a one-off game, 90 minutes. You've gone 1-0 down inside the first minute. You could still get back into that game. Like, they're a very good team, but we've got to make life more difficult for them. But the worrying thing for me is Odegaard. I'll be honest. I think to beat PSG, you need 11 players to play well. If we carry him, we'll get knocked out because you can't beat PSG while carrying a player. You need every single player to put in a performance. If he plays anything like he played the other night, we'll be out of that game because we can't shoehorn somebody into the team. So that's why it's difficult. Because when's the last time Odegaard actually played well? I thought he played all right against Ipswich away. Before that, I honestly can't tell you when he played well before that. So that's
no, I'm with you. I don't think he's played well most of the season. People thought he was really good when he come on and played against Chelsea on his first return. But if I'm honest, I don't think he made us win that game. We ended up drawing it. And every time I've seen him, I can remember him missing a sitter against Newcastle where he didn't turn up when we need him in the semi-final at St James Park where we were looking like we were going out anyway. I've seen him put it over the bar when it was easier to score. I think against Villa away. Before he got injured, he put it over the bar. It was just an obvious one to just slot home. There's been so many pressure moments where he just hasn't turned up, gone hiding. And people say to me, name me 3 or 4 games where he's been awful then. And I'm like, hang on a minute. I can't name you 3 or 4 games in his Arsenal career where he's been outstanding and got us across the line in a game. He might be good with other players, but the season we had in 22-23, he wasn't our best player. Like, Saka was unbelievable. Martinelli got 15 goals as well. Granit Xhaka was outstanding. Some would have said he was. Partey was absolutely brilliant. Saliba, everyone was like, whoa. So, I don't know, man. He's never been the best player of the season for me. A lot of people said that he's got in Team of the Years before and all that great stuff, but I haven't seen those performances consistently for quite some time, and I have huge question marks. I think we're going to draw the game and go out, bruv. I think it's going to be 1-1 over there. I think we will score. We might even score first, but I don't think we're keeping a clean sheet against them. That front three is frightening. Even if Dembele is out, they've still got Ramos, they've still got Doué, they've still got Barcola. It doesn't matter. They've got a brilliant front line, which is better than ours. And Igal actually made a good point. I don't often agree with Igal, but he actually said we've got the worst attack in the last four of this
Yeah,
competition.
definitely.
Inter Milan and Barcelona and PSG leave us dead in the water with their front line. So, in Inter Milan, I've got some players, that we wouldn't probably want, but they're still better than ours.
Can
So
I just say, Dan? Not only have we got the worst attack, and I'm being totally honest here, we've got the worst manager.
facts. They've all
We've got
won
the
it.
worst manager.
They've all won something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're all probably going to win something this season, even if they go out, because they're all probably going to win their individual leagues, aren't they? I mean, maybe Napoli under Conte might beat Inter Milan to it. That's going to be close, but Barcelona, I
yeah,
think, will win the Liga, and I think PSG, I think they've already won the league. So for me, it's like we're under the biggest pressure to win a trophy. They could end up winning one or two. We've got to try and win at least one. And that's the only thing we're in. So you are right. We have got the manager that hasn't got us across the line out of the four. We have got probably the weakest squad out of the four. And we probably have got, definitely have got the weakest attack out of the four. So, yeah, I mean, then people will turn around and go, well, how do you expect him to win it then? It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work
yeah,
like that. When you're 5 years into a job without no credit in the bank, telling everybody you don't need a striker because you've got this squad, believing in the players that you've got, bringing in Raheem Sterling and not putting him anywhere near semi-finals and Champions League games. You've got to go and deliver, man. You've absolutely got to go and deliver. So
yeah.
that's where I think we're gonna go wrong. And Odegaard, I'm sick and tired of talking about him. If I'm honest, I personally don't care about the captaincy yet. Talk about that. I'd rather him be ruthless and just give it to Gabriel or Rice. For now, the easiest thing to do is drop him and then give the captain's armband to Rice, who at the moment it would be because Gabriel's out.
Yeah,
And then obviously you go that way with Ethan and say to Ethan, look, go and have fun. Like you're 17, 18. You've seen what your Mal's doing. I don't expect you to be to that level, but go and, you can be old enough and good enough still, is my point. So that's what I would do. But you're right. The team's going to be that, what we know. And Marino up top will definitely offer us more of a threat. I think what you said, Stuart, from Parisian Guna said about that, I think that's a really good point.
yeah,
I also think Thomas Partey gives two options stronger because Rice definitely is better than Marino in that kind of box-to-box role. Partey's better in the six. I think he's one of the best sixes that we've got and probably the best midfielder we got. It is just Odegaard for me. Saka and Martinelli, I actually think look better with Marino up top as well because I think he
definitely.
brings them into the game. A little bit like Bobby Firmino used to bring Mane and Salah into the game. It was that kind of focal point and important.
Yeah,
I think not to that level, of course, but he's certainly that kind of focal point and target man that brings Saka and Martinelli in like he did against Madrid because I thought our front three against Madrid were outstanding. If they can do that against PSG, then we've got a chance. We still have got a chance. We ain't out. It's not like, oh my God, we're going to be out of here and, it's done yet. We've got to believe. And that's what we're going to have to do on Wednesday. It's going to be huge, mate. Absolutely huge.
yeah.
Biggest game that we've had in a very long time. And unfortunately, mate, before that, we've got a Bournemouth game in the way,
No.
which I don't know many people that are too fussed about it. But let me ask you thoughts on this game and what you'd like to see team-wise, because a lot of people are saying just play a reserve side, make sure everyone's fit for that PSG game. Do you look at it like that, or do you think actually we need some momentum with this team to get them ready for PSG? How do you look at it?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, like I say, there's this thing in the league. I think if you make so many changes, they say you're like compromising the league. So I don't think you're allowed to actually like make 10, 11 changes in the
Yeah,
Premier League, which is annoying. I think he'll play quite a strong team, knowing how Arteta operates. Maybe you might see Ben White for Timber, possibly. You might see one or two others, but I think he'll play a strong team. I mean, to be honest, it's just a game that we could do with not having. I've got no enthusiasm to watch the game. I'm getting offered tickets left, right, and centre. I'm like, no, not interested, mate. Got better thing. I'll stay in the house and do the watch along. And it's a tricky game as well because Bournemouth have got something to play for. They've got some good attacking players. I mean, if we don't win tomorrow, it's going to bring more negativity leading into the PSG game. And it is a game that we could drop points in because they'll be at full strength. They've got a lot to play for. We haven't really got anything to play for. So I think you play Partey because Partey might just need to, he hasn't played, give him a few minutes. But I always, like I say, man, Arsenal always have the PTSD, man. We can't. I get people saying we need momentum for PSG, but we can't afford an injury to anybody who is important either. So I'd be tempted to rest people, man. Be honest, if you said, "Oh, we get beat tomorrow, we draw to Bournemouth, but somehow we get past PSG," we'd all take that. So, I think losing a player and beating Bournemouth would be worse than sort of if we drop points against Bournemouth. Like, what does it really? Of course, we want them to win, and we don't want somebody to catch us and we finish third. But I'm just thinking about Wednesday, bro. I wouldn't be playing. I wouldn't be playing everyone for this game. What are we playing everyone for? I don't really see the point, to be honest. You want to win the game, but the title's gone. I think use it as an opportunity to give one or two players a rest anyway, and then you don't want to get beat. It'll be bad. It's on TV as well. It looks stupid if you just play the Champions League semi-final, you get beat. But then you look at PSG, they lost 3-1 last week in the league and still turned up and rolled us over. So, yeah, maybe I'd rotate. Ethan's got to play, right? Ethan's got to play. Ben White's got to play. You've got to try and get him fit. I mean, I've said it a lot. I wouldn't mind seeing Zinchenko in midfield, but I probably won't do that either. In the front line, we haven't got many options really. It's maybe we'll play Trossard out wide. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not really bothered about the game. I'm going to be totally honest. I'll do a watch along.
I'm with you.
I really don't
totally
care.
with you. I'm going and I don't care. Like, let's just have a social. I said to my parents, I said, look, let's just go and have a social every time now. Because there's only
Yeah,
two more games. There's only Bournemouth and Newcastle. Now they're the only ones left now at the Emirates. So let's just enjoy those two, have a drink, have a good social, have a good chat, and look forward to the Champions League games. Hopefully we're still in it.
yeah,
Because if you look at the games we've got left, other than Southampton at the end, which no one really cares about, we
yeah.
beat them at home, but we've lost to Bournemouth before already. We've lost to Newcastle 3 times, and we've drew to Liverpool. And at Anfield, when was the last time we won there? I think it was 2012 with Santi and Lucas Podolski. So I ain't confident we're actually going to win any of these remaining games in the Premier League, which people might laugh at, but that means that we have to make sure that we can beat Southampton to qualify for the top 4. Because if we ain't going to be
Yeah,
beating Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Liverpool, and teams around us are winning, we might end up like on the same points as Forest or Villa or City or something if we ain't careful. Like, let's be real. Like, we've got to take it half serious.
yeah.
And I'm not saying just the Bournemouth one, because I'd rest everybody just because of that game.
Mm,
Afterwards, if we're out or we're in, we'll have that conversation. But for this Bournemouth game,
yeah.
I wouldn't be playing. Like, Raya's got to play because Neto won't be able to, because obviously he's on
That's
loan
a
from
good point.
Bournemouth, ain't he?
Yeah,
So you play
yeah.
Raya. Right back, White. Left back, I'd go with Tierney. 2 centre halves will have to be Saliba and Kivior because we ain't got any others. At
Mm,
midfield, I think, if I'm honest, I don't want to see Partey, but you might have to play him because it's the only defensive midfielder that we've got. But you can play Zinchenko in the middle, and then Ethan Waneri. In fact, I
yeah,
probably would play Odegaard just because it's like punishment for this guy. He's been that bad. Like, you got to stay. And then Waneri right, maybe Sterling left, and maybe Trossard through the middle, something like that. I'd go with, because I just don't see what the point is of playing Saka, Martinelli, Rice. I don't want to see these guys. Timber, there's I don't know what's happened with Timber. Is he out? I don't know. Is he,
mm,
because he came off, didn't he? So I need to
yeah.
see. I don't want to be seeing those sort of names. Is what my point is about it. And I think the next few games in the Premier League are just really. I'm so deflated for them, bruv.
Well, the thing is, Dan, is listen, I keep saying if we get past PSG, those games you don't mind because you're just looking forward to that final. But the moment that full-time whistle goes in Paris, if we're out, our season ends that second.
It's done. Yeah.
It's done. Yeah, like we'll watch the Liverpool game, Newcastle watch-alongs, content, but it's over. It's basically pre-season begins there and then, which, I mean, I saw a comment that I got the other day. It was from a Middlesbrough fan. He was like, you don't know how good you've got it, blah blah blah. But there's people have to understand, like, when you support a certain club, depending on where you are in the league or what division you're in, there's a certain expectation. And I said the other day that Arsenal, for me, they've gone away from the foundations of what this club is supposed to be. So you look at Manchester United over these last 3 years, it's the worst Man United team I've ever seen. and they've won 2 trophies. They're going to be in a final. They could win 3 out of 3. And I feel like they only win those trophies because of the foundations of that football club. It's like when it comes to crunch time, they're going to lean on that fact that even though the team's not very good, this is Man United. You've got to find a way to win this trophy. I feel like with Arsenal, when we get into those crunch situations, like can you win the title? Can you get past Villarreal in the Europa League? Can you beat PSG? We don't lean on the foundations of like, well, Thierry and Dennis and all these guys and what we were. And it's almost like we've completely changed as a club. I feel like when we left Highbury and went to the Emirates, we changed the badge, we changed the mentality, and our expectations totally different. And a lot of these, I think a lot of the time, especially with the younger fan base, it's like they never saw Arsenal win titles. So in their mind, they can't understand the negativity around this Arsenal because they're like, this is the best Arsenal I've seen. We're challenging for the league. You've just battered Real Madrid. What are you moaning for? They can't believe that certain fans are frustrated and calling out the manager, but they don't understand what we were before that. We were the best. You know, we had the best player in the league, one of the best on the planet. We were disappointed if we finished second, like, oh my God, United have won the league. We're fuming. It's a crisis. Now finishing second is like, oh, second, mate, bloody hell, you should be proud of that. And I'm kind of getting just frustrated with the fact that they don't address the problems. It's like, you see a club need a striker, they buy a striker. When Pep lost Aguero, he went 1 year and then he got Haaland. He didn't sit there for 4 years going, well, you know, we'll play, but we'll put Bernardo Silva up front, or we'll do this and do that and try. He went, I'll wait a year because I know Haaland's got this release clause. He actually won the league with no striker.
With Jesus,
With Jesus, and then he buys Haaland. He didn't sit there for 4 years going, I need a striker. We've needed a striker for years and years and years, and we're still saying we need a striker. And we've needed a left winger for years, and we've needed, and Wenger was like it. He needed a defensive midfielder for about 10 years, and he kept buying little attacking midfielders, technical players, and it's like, just buy the players, and then let's see what you're about. But listen, man, the manager for me is just, it's got to be crunch time for that manager because we can't afford to keep doing this. It's not like we're winning. It's not like we finished second, Champions League semi-final and won an FA Cup. You'd go, okay, you got to Wembley, you beat a rival, Saliba's lifted a trophy. I think sometimes you have a domino effect. You always want the top trophy first. You want to win the Champions League or the Prem, but sometimes you actually just need to win the Carabao Cup or you need to win the FA Cup to allow these players to know what it feels like to win and walk up them steps and get the medal around your neck. And you go, oh my God, this feels better than anything I've ever done at Arsenal. I want more of this. I feel like they're happy to compete and say, well, we're there, pat us on the back, new contract, big money, manager's comfortable because the Champions League money goes in the Kroenke's account, and everybody's sort of making everybody comfortable at this football club, which is why at the moment my only hope is that Berta goes in there and starts to make people uncomfortable because everybody else is happy to just finish second or compete. You know? I keep saying, everyone's saying with Berta, man, you know, needs a striker and a left winger. That guy might have to go and ring Diego Simeone or someone, bro, because I'm telling you now, we can't. If Tottenham win that Europa League, I'm telling you now, we are in a bad situation if we don't win the Champions League because we spent 4 or 5 years in that competition and didn't win it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how much of a wake-up call we need before people go, oh, actually, maybe this manager ain't the guy. It might take a rival winning a trophy. It might take Saliba going to Real Madrid, but they don't leave you alone forever. Nobody's cherry-picked Arsenal's team for a while. Do you know what I mean? But it will happen eventually. These guys won't sit there forever finishing second.
We've seen it before with Fabregas, with Van Persie, with Sanchez. They were like, yeah, I'm happy. And then it's like, yeah, my ambitions aren't aligned with this football club. I'm going elsewhere. That will happen if this continues. Matty's right. Throwing away cups has caught up with him. You can't dump the domestic cups in the bin because he would have had some credit. He would have had some winning mentality. He would have
Yeah.
allowed this group to have won something. It would have given momentum to go and win some of the majors. But he was so adamant about just going for one front. This is what I mean when I say that Mikel Arteta can't come on more than one front, let alone going on all four fronts. He can't look at more than one competition. Because when he went for the Premier League and the Champions League and the FA Cup and the League Cup, he was falling out of them. And then we get to a Premier League and a Champions League, and it's like, we'll shift to just the Champions League. He can't look at like Klopp did, like Pep does. He's not that elite level. And people try and compare him to Eddie Howe and to Unai Emery. I think he's on that kind of level, if I'm honest with you. I don't think he's a bad manager. This guy's not trash. But I think he's that kind of level. I don't think he's this level. Because when people say to me, Emery and Howe, I don't want Eddie Howe and Emery at Arsenal because I don't think they're the elite. I think they're brilliant at what they do, but I don't think they're the Diego Simeone, Simone Inzaghi, Carlo Ancelotti level. So when I start throwing those names and people go, they're washed, what are people talking about? Because I was told Antonio Conte's washed. He's about to go and win Serie A. He's phase one of Napoli with Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmore in midfield. Yeah. Yeah, you've got Diogo Simeone, who's the only manager that got anywhere near Messi and Ronaldo in the same league, playing for two extra clubs, not playing anywhere near his club, winning the Europa League with Berta, by the way. Simone Inzaghi, what phase is he in? He's ended up taking Inter Milan to Champions League final, might even put them to another one Serie A with them, one title, one trophies with them. Hansi Flick, what did he do with Germany? Well, wasn't he the assistant manager when they won the World Cup? And isn't he done shitloads with Bayern? Didn't he do a treble with Bayern? This guy is a winner, serial winner. So Carlo Ancelotti, I mean, the most successful manager and won the most Champions Leagues. All of these names I throw, people, because it ain't Mikel Arteta, they don't want to go, oh yeah, actually, that's fair. Those managers are levels on Mikel Arteta. It's like if we get rid of this guy, the whole club has to fold. And we have to, they don't want to know what it's like, life without him. So some of this is the best they've seen. And I get that from fans. It don't bother me how young or old you are, what you've seen and what you haven't seen. We all want to win. And if this guy can't win, he has to go, Curtis. Now, I'm not saying he has to go now because he ain't lost yet. We ain't out yet. Goes and wins the Champions League. He's done it. Yeah. We stop all this nonsense about, do you think, do you not? Do you think, do you not? I don't believe personally that he will win the Champions League. I said that. It went on socials. Everyone went mental at me. You're negative. You're negative. I'm not saying I want Arsenal to lose and go out, am I? I'm saying, do I think we'll win the league? The answer is no. I don't think we'll win the Champions League. And I've got question marks about this manager getting across the line. Until he does that and puts people like me in the mud by saying you were talking rubbish, brilliant. Please do. I've been begging him to do that for 5 years and he ain't been able to. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't know why people find that so hard to accept. It's like, no, la, 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 he's going to be brilliant. They're so obsessed, Curtis, with this dream world that he wins it. Like if you said to me now, Champions League winners, Arsenal, am I going to have a first question go, yeah, but who was the manager, mate? Because that's really important. I'm going to go, who cares? I don't care if it's Pep, Klopp, Arteta or Jack Hobbs. I couldn't give a damn. Like, you think Chelsea cared that Di Matteo won the Champions League? Oh, it's a bloody shame that Di Matteo did it. I wish it was. No, they don't. They go, we won the Champions League. Like, who cares, man? I don't care.
Can I just say, Dan, right, before I know you got to read out them super chats, but it's like people have to understand this guy's one of the highest paid managers in the world. If you're one of the highest paid people in your office or in your job role, you should be one of the best performing people within that organization. So how is it that managers like Simone Inzaghi, like Luis Enrique, all these guys who are winning major trophies, competing, rebuilding teams, how are they doing that on less money than him? That means he's being paid to do a job for the ownership that makes them money, that keeps them out of the spotlight. Because Arteta is brilliant at keeping the Kroenkes out of the spotlight. We're more engaged in, are you Arteta in or out, than are these owners actually good enough? Because they're the ones who've been here for years and overseen all these so-called rebuilds. So he does a great job of keeping them out of the spotlight, which is why he's being paid so much money. Also, on top of that, surely an elite manager wins trophies. I don't think that's rocket science. If I said to you now, name the best 5 managers in the world, I can guarantee they've all won trophies, major trophies, right? That's what makes you a top manager. As I said before, it feels to me like Arteta is the guy before the guy, the Brendan before the Klopp, right? Yes, you can build a team. I've never sat on any channel and said Arteta is a bad manager. Clearly, he knows what he's doing. There's an element of quality there. He's got a good style of football. His plan A is actually very good. The problem is the best managers have plan Bs. I've seen
Yeah,
Pep turn up at the Emirates with Bernardo Silva at left back,
yeah,
doing crazy things that you don't even, what's he doing? But he's thinking outside the box. Let me give you a little bit of shock element. And this is why I think Waneri should start on Wednesday, because PSG looks so well prepared for what we offered them the other day. They doubled up and trebled up on Saka and took him out of the game and left Martinelli 1v1 with Hakimi because they weren't worried about Martinelli. They knew Hakimi was good enough to lock him down, and they took out our best threat. And after that, we didn't have a lot to offer. So I think he's got to spring a little bit of a surprise on him and go, Waneri, okay, we haven't really played against this guy. And when he starts, do something different. Like I said, you don't find Wayne Rooney, Marcus Rashford, Michael Owen, Jack Wilshere, Cesc Fabregas, all these young players that were thrown in at 16, 17, 18. Unless you're brave and you go, it's a good young player, man. He might give them something that they don't expect. I actually think beating PSG 2-0 earlier in the season, it worked against us on Tuesday. It's like they were prepared for what we'd done to them and they counteracted it with what they did, and we didn't know how to live with it. So I hope he changes something, but listen, for me, it's all or nothing on Wednesday for me. I think
oh,
if he wins that
100%, bro.
game, Champions League final, let's go. If he loses, get him out of here for me. There's 4 or 5 managers you could get in the summer that are better than him.
I agree. And do you know what's mad? People that have said to me, well, what would you do if you get rid of him? What the hell happens? They're so worried. I feel like saying to them, do you know what? I would, do you know what I would do? I would go and get the assistant manager from Man City, go and buy another dog, go and get another painting up on the mural. Do you know what I mean? What do they expect me to say here? Do you know what I mean? Because that's what
Yeah.
we've done before. I'd go, we're
Yeah.
in phase 1 again. We've got to go and get an assistant manager who we think is going to be the next Pep Guardiola. We've got to give him 5 years. We've got to give him 750 million and just accept that we might not win anything for 5 years. Do you think the fans would go, oh, that sounds good, actually? Yeah, I wish we'd do that. No,
Yeah.
man. You don't go and
Crazy.
do that again. That's got you to that stage. Brendan couldn't do it. And another manager who was good at a certain level. One, it was Celtic. One, FA Cup with Leicester. Did a good job with Leicester, but couldn't quite get the next elite level management job, right? So for me, it's about Simeone. No, you can't get Simeone. Inzaghi. Okay, Inzaghi wants to stay at Milan. You go and get Carlo Ancelotti. Okay, Carlo Ancelotti. You go and try and get Zidane. You go and try and get Conte. You go and try and get winning managers. None of this.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we might have to go and see if De Zerbi can trust the process with us. None of that crap. Rather keep Arteta, man. This is what I don't get with these fans, man. They're bizarre people. But let me do these super chats before we come to a close. Big up to Matty, absolute legend. Make sure you're all following the Southern Gooner, man. Absolute love, Matt. Look at PSG's Champions League campaign and the teams they've faced. They are battle-tested, brothers. I've been really impressed with Luis Enrique. I've got to say, I've been really impressed. And this super chat comes in from SG, and I agree with it. Enrique's in phase 2, and he's beaten Arteta in phase 6. This is pretty mad, to be fair. I see Lee Gunner's tweet today saying, "What phase is Ange in?"
And said, didn't he? Wins trophies in his second year, man. If that happens, bro,
mate, this is not good. Joyful noise. Thank you for the super sticker, my bro. I really appreciate that. Chelsea says, when Arsenal are underdogs and there's no pressure, they do very well. When they go on a run and you start putting expectations, they fold and choke. And that's a good point, actually, because we're now, I would say, underdogs and unexpected to go through from the majority of the media and rival fans. Maybe we do now go through because the pressure's off and everyone expects us to go out like it was against Real Madrid. This is a very different tie to that one, completely and utterly different. And expectations key. Because you said something earlier about Middlesbrough fan giving you saying, oh, you're how lucky you are. I get that, bro. I'm an Essex boy. I look at the teams around me that I live local to, Ipswich, Colchester, most East Anglia, most London clubs, basically. I'm like either side of those. And I look at the lower division London subs like Leyton Orient, Dagenham, and I see how they're doing, just to see how they are doing. And they always say to me, you don't know how lucky you are. But the expectation is not for them to win the Champions League, is it?
No.
The expectation is for us to win the league and Champions League. So expectation is massive, man. It really is. And then last one, Per says, big up both of you for being genuine fans with no ulterior motives. It's Champions League or bust. If he wins, he gets one last shot at the Premier League next season. And that's important for me as well, Curtis, to wrap up. If he does do the unthinkable when he wins this ain't, oh, brilliant, job done. He's here forever. He don't have to win anything again. He's got to go again next season and win the Premier League. This ain't like this is job done if you get one over the line. We've got to be consistent. We want to dominate. We want to be winning every year. So this is a massive task for him still, in my opinion. It really is. But look, man, big up to you. Big up to everyone that's in the chat. There's 1.6K in here. Make sure you do me a favor and hit like and subscribe because we've only got 400 likes and that needs to go up massively. So make sure that you do that. Make sure you're following Curtis as well. His link is in the title to his channel. So all you got to do is click there. What you got coming up, bro?
Well, actually, I'm live in 5 minutes. It'll probably be more like 10 minutes. But yeah, I called it Arsenal therapy because last night I called it a vibe along. I said, you know what, laid back. We're just going to watch Europa League. And the stress levels were not much better by the end of that, thinking Chelsea are in the Conference League, United and Tottenham are in the Europa League final. So yeah, we're gonna break that down and what it means for Arsenal if all these rivals win trophies, man, and where we go from here. There's some Zubomendi links again and saying I think the Real Sociedad manager has spoken, saying he expects him to leave. But like you said, the way Partey's been playing, does he even get in the team? I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right, bro. It's mad right now. Look, we're gonna redirect to Curtis, so make sure you stay tuned here. It's gonna send everybody over, so make sure that you go go do your thing over with Curtis. And yeah, big up for coming on again, bro. We'll do something on yours next week, hopefully when we're through to the final, bro. We'll see.
Please.
We'll see.
Please, man, just allow us, like, you know, fan base that we're always having a go at them. Give us that break of. Because last week when we did the show, it was just pure vibes. We'd done Real Madrid. It was like, yo, we can't wait. We're just a reflection of the club, people. If they act properly and accordingly, we'll be happy and jolly. But when they start doing this, did you see the other day, by the way, when that guy, the Sky reporter, was at the training ground and Arteta was walking the dog?
Oh my
He was
God.
like, is that Mikel Arteta walking win? And I'm like
it's so put on. It's like as if that. Oh, come on.
Like, I was
seriously,
like,
it was just that's embarrassing, isn't it? What other manager walks their dog around their fucking
I would have loved it to just take a dump while the guy was doing the, you know. Oh, Wynn's having a poo back here with Mikel.
Maybe that's where maybe that's like where, you know, Ancelotti, if he got a dog, he might be able to stay with Real Madrid for another season. Like, when does Pep do this, and when does Ancelotti do this? When does Simeone get his dog out and walk it along? It's just an absolute shambles, really, when you think about it. It's just a PR. As if that's planned. Like, oh, by total coincidence, he's come out to walk his dog at the time we were interviewing outside the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's all PR crap, in it. You know, they think we're thick. It really is crazy. But anyway, look, man, we'll let you go. Let the guys get out of here. Make sure you stay tuned. Go follow, show Curtis some love. And yeah, I'll be back later, people. We're out of here, and we'll see you next time in a bit.